Good morning, everyone. We will start at 9 a.m. Please remind your colleagues to join us soon. A great morning to everyone. Today is the second and last day of the sixth Environmental and Occupational Health Forum. I am Dr. Michelle Reyes, and on behalf of Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia and the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, College of Public Health, University of the Philippines, Manila, I would like to welcome you back for the day two of this year's forum with the theme Accelerating the Development of Healthy and Climate Smart Hospitals in the Southeast Asian Region. We are privileged to share this fourth virtual offering with all of you. We welcome all of our guests and friends. Please take note that the forum is being live streamed through YouTube, so in case you get disconnected and you are unable to reconnect, you may still participate in the forum via YouTube by accessing the link shared to your registered emails yesterday. You may also accomplish the evaluation forms to get a certificate. The links to the said form will be shared by our staff through the Zoom chat box and emailed immediately after the event. To give us the highlights of yesterday's proceedings, let us welcome Mr. Adrian Paul Agravante, University Researcher of the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health.
Good morning, everyone. Let's take a short moment to revisit the key discussions and insights shared during yesterday's session. The first lecture is about the policies and plans for promoting healthy and climate-smart hospitals in the Philippines, which was presented by Dr. Beverly Ho, Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health. She showed the importance of universal healthcare, or UHC, in developing policies and plans to provide healthy living, schooling, and working environments. Healthcare facilities such as our hospitals are not just workplaces that provide healthcare services, but also a potential contributor to the environmental changes. Dr. Ho highlighted the three policies of the department that address the issues of these facilities on health and the environment. The first one is the Health Impact Assessment, or HIA. Part of the UHC is institutionalizing HIA in the healthcare system. HIA is a function of the health system as it helps mitigate the risk to ensure promotion of healthy hospitals. Dr. Ho also highlighted the impact of climate change, natural disasters, and COVID-19 pandemic in health service delivery, considering also that the Philippines belongs to the top countries with the highest disaster risk worldwide. We also need to ensure that our health facilities are both climate resilient and environmentally sustainable, which means that its operations will not harm the environment. The Department of Health, through the Health Facility Development Bureau, has existing operational guidelines to implement green, safe, and climate resilient health facilities. Lastly, the department has a draft administrative order which aims to have a national framework on the promotion and harmonized recognition of health facilities, which is expected to be finalized and implemented soon. After obtaining their licenses, compliance, and accreditation, hospitals in the future will also be awarded and incentivized once they obtain harmonized certification, which reflects their compliance to the standards on health systems capacity, service delivery, and employee wellness. In addition, this policy will also help assure quality service to patients and satisfaction of workers. There's also a benefit for the employees as well on minimizing the risk and how well the facilities can take care of them. As a conclusion of her lecture, Dr. Ho reminded us that we need to continue to improve our policies and existing health initiatives. And most importantly, ensure the continuous improvement and implementation of safe, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure to achieve green, safe, and climate resilient health facilities. We have looked at the current initiatives for promoting healthy and climate resilient hospitals in the Philippines, but how about in the Southeast Asian region? The second, presentation yesterday tackled it, which was delivered by Mr. Ramon San Pascual, Executive Director of Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia. Mr. San Pascual described in his lecture the key strategic initiatives in developing healthy and climate-smart hospitals in the Southeast Asian region. Mr. San Pascual shared that there are upcoming international forums and conferences such as the COP28, which aims to identify adaptation measures to address the impact of climate change on human health and highlights best practices for strengthening climate resilience of health facilities such as hospitals. One issue that Mr. San Pascual highlighted is the negative impact of fossil fuel. The use of fossil fuel is still the major driver of air pollution and other negative health impacts in local communities. Burning of fossil fuel is still the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions and is the most significant cause of climate-driven health impacts. Ending our dependence on fossil fuels will improve the health prospects of future generations, which in turn will save more lives. Mr. San Pascual also points out the importance of mitigation actions, such as reducing emissions and adaptation actions, such as developing resilience as this results in improved health outcome. Urgent mitigation actions to minimize climate change is essential to reduce the pressure on health systems. Without rapid mitigation, it will not be feasible to build health systems that are sufficiently resilient. Above all, healthy population is still the pillar of overall climate resilience. Other key initiatives mentioned by Mr. San Pascual are continuous education and mobilization of the health sectors on climate and health to put pressure on policymakers, pursuing various ways of financing climate and health transformative agenda, and advocating for sector-wide policies while collaborating with other sectors for more meaningful health outcomes. The third lecture, presented by Dr. Albert de la Cruz Sr., Commissioner of the Climate Change Commission, identified the impacts and contributions of healthcare facilities to climate change adaptation and mitigation. Healthcare facilities are crucial for public health and at the same time also a contributor to greenhouse gas emissions and susceptible to climate change impacts. Understanding the complex relationship between healthcare facilities and climate change is important for effective adaptation and mitigation strategies. Some climate change impacts on healthcare facilities identified by Dr. De La Cruz include damage to healthcare infrastructure due to natural disasters, leading to challenges in providing patient care. Services are also disrupted as climate events affect power supplies and transportation, hindering healthcare workers and patient access. Additionally, the increased risk of infectious diseases like dengue and malaria is attributed to climate change creating favorable conditions for disease-carrying vectors. Meanwhile, healthcare facilities also have significant contributions to climate change. Energy consumption is one, particularly the energy-intensive activities and medical equipment use. Another is the emission from fossil fuel power vehicles for patient transportation and staff commuting. Furthermore, the generation of substantial waste, including pharmaceuticals and hazardous waste, adds to their environmental impact. Despite these challenges, healthcare facilities in the Philippines are actively involved in climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts. These are enhancing resilience through infrastructure upgrades and disaster preparedness plans, use of energy-efficient equipment and adopting renewable energy sources, and enhancing waste management strategies. Healthcare facilities in the Philippines are at the forefront of climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts. They can help protect the health of Filipinos and reduce the impact of climate change in the country. The second part of the forum is a panel discussion on the best practices towards the promotion of healthy hospitals in Southeast Asian region. Resource speakers from Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, and Vietnam shared the best practices of their hospitals in their countries. Dr. Wiwat Chatwongwan from Thailand shared the best practices of Maharat Nakhon Ratchasima Hospital, a tertiary hospital under the Ministry of Public Health. The Maharat Hospital is the first healthcare facility in Thailand to commit to the Race to Zero campaign of the United Nations Framework on Climate Change, meaning they committed not just to be climate resilient and sustainable in their operations, but also to become a net zero in 2050. When it comes to safety and security, the physical structure of their hospital conforms to the relevant laws and regulations. They also have the following: strict monitoring of programs for improvement, proactive risk assessment of their facilities to minimize environmental risk and unsafe practices, implementation of a safety and emergency management plan, equipment and utility system management plan, and staff education and training on health and safety. They also implemented disaster mitigation control in their hospital after experiencing a severe flooding a decade ago. We move on to Indonesia. Ms. Yuyon Yulianti of the West Java Mental Hospital presented their best practices. Their hospital is a member of the GGHH, or the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals. They made sure to implement green building regulations as one of the requirements that must be met by building construction and maintenance consultants. Another best practice is their healthcare waste management program, reuse, recycle, and upscale materials. One example is that they utilize waste segregation products into patient therapy materials. They also have drinking water treatment management. They also use the climate impact checkup tool to identify the carbon emissions per source in their facility. In Singapore, Mr. Richard Jiang of Kutek Wat Hospital, a regional hospital in Singapore, shared their current green and sustainability initiatives as well as their race to zero carbon emission plans. They have large garden spaces for healing and tranquil environment for the patients and staff. Their building incorporates solar power and natural ventilation to enhance energy efficiency. They have close monitoring of their generated waste, and they also promote recycling. They strictly follow and support their government's Green Plan 2030, which is a national sustainability movement to tackle climate change. Lastly, Mr. Jiang not only highlighted their building sustainability and waste reduction initiatives, but also highlighted the importance of staff and community engagement. Engagement, education, and empowerment of staff and the community are important to achieve health and environmental sustainability outcomes. Lastly, Ms. To Till Yen of the Center for Health, Environment, Research and Development, Vietnam, shared the best practices towards the promotion of green, clean, beautiful hospitals in Vietnam. Plastic waste is a big problem in their hospital. That's why they implement a medical plastic waste management plan. The plan aims to reduce the generated medical plastic waste and increase the percentage rate of medical plastic waste recycled. This plan includes applying the circular economy model, developing network for sustainability of the program, policy development, and education and training on medical plastic waste management. During the open forum, the resource speakers noted the importance of each country's national guidelines in maintaining the initiatives of healthcare facilities as a clean and climate-smart facility. Some challenges they have faced include funding and stakeholder participation. The initiative is a collective action, and it's not just a responsibility of the healthcare facility. We need to involve stakeholders like the local community and private sector, as it will help advance our initiatives. And those were the highlights of day one. I hope everybody enjoyed the sessions as much as we did. Over to you, Dr. Reyes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agravante, for sharing those highlights. We sure accomplished a lot yesterday. Today's session is a bit shorter, but will tackle equally important issues. I'd like to remind our participants of our request for you to post your photos on our social media and use the hashtags hashtag 6EOH Forum and hashtag Healthy Hospitals in Southeast Asia. We value your feedback, so please accomplish the evaluation forms. The link for the Day 2 evaluation form will be shared by our staff later, and for the audience here in Zoom or those watching live stream to receive their certificate of attendance, please ensure that you accomplish the evaluations for days 1 and 2. This will all be emailed to the recipients immediately after the event. You are allowed to accomplish the forms until 3 p.m. of each day. Today, we have 3 distinguished speakers. We will have the second panel discussion and the concluding lecture. The first presentation is entitled Policy Challenges and Opportunities in Promoting Healthy and Climate-Smart Hospitals in the Southeast Asian Region. Facilitating the discussion is our third moderator, Dr. Fadrilan Camacho. Dr. Vivian Fe Fadrilan Camacho is a cum laude graduate of BS Public Health from the University of the Philippines, Manila. She finished her medical degree from the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila and went on to pursue family and community medicine as her residency training at the University of the Philippines, Philippine General Hospital, where she was appointed as chief resident. She then pursued her interest in occupational health and took masters in public health with a tracking in environmental and occupational health at the Sosui Cox School of Public Health, National University of Singapore, under a full scholarship grant from the said institution. She is a fellow of the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians. Dr. Fadilan Camacho is an associate professor, past chair of the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, and former college secretary of the College of Public Health, UP Manila. She is currently the assistant to the dean for the academic affairs of the College of Public Health, as well as director of the Office of International and Local Linkages of University. I would like to turn over the virtual floor to our moderator, Dr. Fadilan Camacho.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reyes, for that kind introduction. I would like to welcome everyone to our second panel discussion for the EOH Forum. We would like to remind our speakers that you are given 20 minutes to discuss your topic. Messages will be sent to you via Zoom chat box to remind you of the time remaining. Our first speaker is Dr. Nasir Hassan. Dr. Hassan is from Malaysia and he graduated with a bachelor degree in environmental sciences at the University Putra, Malaysia, and a Master of Philosophy degree in environmental systems and PhD degree in environmental engineering economics from University of Lancaster in England. Dr. Hassan is currently the Regional Advisor in Air Pollution, Environmental Health, and Chemical Safety, Department of Healthier Populations and Communicable Diseases at the WHO Regional Office for Southeast Asia, based in New Delhi, India. Prior to this, he has held various positions in WHO. He was team coordinator for the Pacific Climate Change and Environment Team and environmental health specialist at the WHO Division of Pacific Technical Support based in Fiji. Before Fiji, Dr. Hassan was coordinator for health and the environment at the Division of NCD and Health Through Life course, WHO Regional Office for the Western Pacific, based here in Manila. He also served as team leader on NCD Environmental Health for the WHO Office in Cambodia and was also responsible for the Environmental Health Program for WHO Lao. He will discuss policy challenges and opportunities in promoting healthy and climate-smart hospitals in the Southeast Asian region. Unfortunately, Dr. Hassan cannot join us live today because of an equally important event, but he sent a video presentation. Let us now watch and listen to Dr. Nasir Hassan.
Good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of the 6th Environmental and Occupational Health Forum, especially to the College of Public Health, University of Philippine, Manila, and Simeo Tropmet Philippine, and colleagues and friends for giving me the opportunity to share with you very important issues that we are facing today. The specific task given for me to share with you all is with regard to the policy challenges and opportunities in promoting healthy and climate-smart hospitals in the region. And my name is Nasir Hassan. I'm working for the WHO Regional Office for Southeast Asia. And my special thanks to my friend Rashid Hussain, who is Regional Advisor for WASH and Climate Change in the same office, who is willing to share with me some of the important slides for this presentation. How serious? First, I want to start to share with you is that how serious or how difficult we are facing today with regard to the issues about climate change. We have seen the 6th assessment report of the IPCC the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, especially Chapter 17 of the Volume 2 of the report, has come up with a very, very serious, one of the most critical finding, most critical recommendation, observation with regard to the climate crisis. The sixth assessment report has highlighted there was unprecedented and potentially irreversible damage and impact caused by the climate change, in which the United Nations Secretary General refer to this crisis as code red to humanity. We have seen for the past many years the hottest, and the record keep on developing a record every year about high temperature and global warming. There has been recent rate of sea level rise, almost triple compared to the period of 1901 to 1971. And virtually certain that hot extremes weather events, including heat wave, has become more frequent and more intense than for the past many, many years. You will see many of the land is in water, flooding, sea level rise, and then also with regard to extreme, what do you call it, hot extreme. Now we have seen that for the past at least 1.1 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, and this is huge impact. We thought that maybe 1.1 has little impacts, but you will see on the right sides of the diagram that even with this 1.1, which likely to break the record of 1.5, most of the impacts occur at the land area, especially with regard to this Asia and Southeast Asia region. So the impacts of climate change can be tremendous all over the place, or all over especially in our region. So what is the impacts on health? Weather and climate can affect the functioning of the healthcare facilities. The basic function of healthcare facilities could be disrupted, or most likely will be disrupted, and the impacts on the health workforce, especially the healthcare workers, especially with regard when they are not well prepared to cope and to adapt to the changes in the climate change due to extreme weather event, for example. Climate change will exacerbate current and underlying challenges for basic infrastructure such as water, energy and infrastructure and other technology. Climate change itself will need a situation where we not only that we mitigate, but especially in the health sector, adapt to the impacts of extreme weather event or extreme climate change impacts. And the impacts of climate change on healthcare facilities in Southeast Asia region, to where I'm working now, is tremendous, and especially impacts on the poor and the most vulnerable population. How vulnerable are the climate change or impacts to the healthcare facilities? So this is where I feel that there is nothing compared to having your own, what we call as vulnerability assessment with local data. I give an example. This was done many years back, and I was very impressed. It's a group of work, or group of professionals has identified the number of healthcare facilities, especially in Leyte province in the Philippines, identifying the number of healthcare facilities most vulnerable to storm surge, to landslide and flood. Without this data, it will not be able to find out which are the healthcare facilities most vulnerable, and then probably looking into the most healthcare facilities that need immediate or probably short-term intervention. And you will see here, for example, like with regard to in Leyte province, they have identified that 49 healthcare facilities are most vulnerable to storm surge. Although there are not so many with regard to landslide, but there are also many healthcare facilities, especially the moderate ones, that are badly affected by flood. And I was told that any healthcare facilities in this province, Leyte province, probably many parts of the Philippines, any healthcare facilities that are located less than 100 meters are most vulnerable to climate change impacts, especially to sea level rise. When I was in Fiji, we did assessment of healthcare facilities that are badly affected, most vulnerable to cyclone or drought, high temperature, sea level rise, or even like in droughts itself. We were able to identify the number of healthcare facilities, the nursing stations that are most vulnerable to all these climate change risks. The number of health centers, subdivisional hospital, or divisional hospital, even specialized or self-referral hospital that mostly affected by this climate change impacts, cyclone, drought, high temperature, sea level rise, and low rainfall. By having this local information, we were able to identify what to critical intervention and what can be done at the later stage. Building evidence, especially local evidence, is a must. I give an example. Many years back, we did just a simple interface between, say, rainfall and humidity and the number of dengue cases. And this is done in Cambodia. We'll see that there is a very interesting trend between total rainfall or rainfall itself with the number of dengue cases. There are probably you will see the ups and downs and the trend. This will enable the healthcare facilities or healthcare workers to undertake early warning system caused by vector-borne disease, for example, like dengue or even malaria and other vector-borne diseases. Now, moving forward, uh, in the health sector, especially in hospital and healthcare facilities, there are two possibilities. One is the healthcare facilities themselves contribute toward carbon reduction. The healthcare facilities then probably introduce all the technologies that can mitigate carbon emission itself. But although the number the amount of carbon that is contributed by the healthcare facilities is small, but even a small contribution will help. That means that healthcare facilities or even hospital contributes toward carbon reduction overall. But there is a bigger function of the healthcare facilities, the ability to introduce the healthcare facilities and the community nearby to enhance the adaptation, to avoid harm caused by climate change, and increase the opportunity for intervention by the healthcare facilities, what we call as the co-benefit cost or introduced by the healthcare facilities. There is the issues about building or climate resilient that are adapted or health system that are adapted to climate change. But more importantly is building resilient to climate change. So meaning that, for example, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, but the most adaptable. This is what we call as adaptation. But we are talking about building resilient is to make sure that healthcare facilities, not now, but in the future, to cope with hazardous event or trend or disturbance, responding or reorganizing that maintain the essential function. That means that even in the extreme weather event, for example, the healthcare facilities, a hospital is able to function, to provide the essential functions, and especially with regard to having the infrastructure to cope with extreme weather event. Maintaining the capacity for adaptation, learning, and transformation is part of the building resilience. Now, you will see that when you are talking about not only adaptation or resilient, this is a very clear case, for example, that for example, in 1970, Cyclone Bola in Bangladesh has taken about 300,000 people. I mean, 300,000 died because of the cyclone. But because of the ability of the community to anticipate and able to adapt to, or probably having a better understanding of the link between, say, climate extreme event and the outcome, you will see that the death or probably the casualties caused by cyclone can be as low as 8 deaths in 2019. Now, the way forward, one of the most established, and this is where we work very closely with Healthcare Without Harm, is the climate resilient and environmentally sustainable facilities or healthcare facilities that are developed from 4 major functions. Number one is the ability to produce health workforce, not only the number of skilled human resource, but then the working condition that are what we call as adapted and resilient community, or resilient workers that are adapted to the climate change impacts. Number two is about strengthening the infrastructure, basic facilities like water, sanitation, hygiene, healthcare, waste management, without which then you're talking about the healthcare facilities will not be able to cope, will not be able to adapt, and probably enable them to be very susceptible to climate change impacts. There is the challenge for the healthcare facilities to move forward, that not only in terms of adaptation, but building mitigation. That means moving, not only having healthcare facilities having good supply of energy, of electricity, but also having to convert towards or building strong green energy systems. And finally, on the infrastructure, technologies, and product, that to make sure that the infrastructure are resilient to climate change impacts. Now, number one is about health workforce. The key requirements is sufficient number of skilled and informed health workers, ensuring the health and safety of health workers by identifying occupational hazard to prevent and control exposure to climate and non-climate related outcomes. Example of intervention for climate resilient health workforce include, for example, for human resource, ensure minimum needs for safe and operational efficiency of facility. Contingency planning for personnel and patient transportation. Psychosocial support team for health workforce and patient. For capacity development, for example, healthcare staff trained to identify climate-related disease threat. Health workforce trained on surveillance for climate-related disease. Contingency plan for relocation of hospital equipment and climate-related hazard to wash, chemicals, and energy management. For communication and awareness building is health workforce participate in community health program related to climate risk and contribute to disaster management planning in communities. That means healthcare facilities has close link with the community empowerment and community strengthening. Example of another that healthcare workers can contribute toward water conservation and wastewater management, energy efficiency and heating and lighting, efficient healthcare waste management, safe handling of chemicals of concern in the hospital, and sustainable procurement of medical goods and pharmaceutical. Building a future healthcare facilities, and this building healthcare facilities, future healthcare facilities mean building a good and understanding and a very strong workforce that understands the link between their own understanding and with the climate resilient healthcare facilities. Essential services wash is fundamentals and part of the climate resilient system. For example, for water, not only for water supply monitored regularly, but also verified safety condition and proper functioning of all elements of the water distribution system. Because we know that when the moment we have extreme weather event like droughts or even disaster and so on and so forth, the very first thing that will be disrupted or the essential need is having safe water, safe drinking water. So we have to be able to undertake risk management siting of facilities being based on historical flood levels, for example. Long-term droughts management plan, safe water storage made available, especially in the context of extreme weather event. Health and safety regulation, clean water supply, rainwater harvesting must be incorporated into the long-term functions of water supply in healthcare facilities. Similarly, with regard to the sanitation and hygiene, for example, to make sure that sewer outflows to pumps, and then the use of pumps for sanitation systems, for risk management, for example, like to make sure that siting of latrines in relation to flooding areas and water sources, for health and safety regulation to make sure that rainwater harvesting is installed where appropriate, and this is incorporated into the sanitation and hygiene management system. Waste system, gone with the burning system, gone with the incinerators, moving toward environmentally friendly waste management system, the what they call it, cradle to grave, to make sure that whatever waste that is generated from the hospital or healthcare facilities not only been monitored but also understand the risk with regard to disaster and so on and so forth, to make sure that the way forward is developing a good healthcare management system. The third one is about energy. We must have local information how much of the facilities in the country have access to an energy. Not only have access to energy, how many of the healthcare facilities has access to renewable energy or have planned toward renewable energy, to make sure that more and more of the energy systems of healthcare facilities is relying toward, for example, the solar systems, to make sure that the energy sector will be very crucial for the healthcare facilities. You're talking about the energy systems. Assess energy need is very important. Assess all heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is very important. Map availability and scope of alternative source of renewable energy. Voltage stabilizer to protect equipment from electrical damage. Emergency plan in place for dealing with supply disruption during acute event. Regular maintenance check of all appliances and adoption of energy efficiency medical equipment, and especially with regard to adequate lighting, communication, refrigeration, especially the air conditioning, backup energy equipment sufficiently elevated in areas prone to flood. Infrastructure, the final component is on the infrastructure. Making sure that new design building have all the facilities, or probably even like escalated or probably stepwise improvement, to make sure that all new building has passive solar system and cooling strategies, natural and mixed mode ventilation, preserving and enhancing natural environment and vegetation, reducing water consumption system, green building design and energy efficiency. For retrofitting, replacing inefficient mechanical equipment such as old boilers with high energy substitute, replacing existing lighting with high efficiency LED lighting, incremental saving approach, and augmenting the existing system with renewable sources such as solar water heating, reduces the amount of energy needs and cooling systems, and reduce energy consumption. Building relocation, long-term measures for sustainable site, for example, to make sure that when you move hospital to new site, for example, then they are able to save relocation for hospital or even healthcare facilities. Understanding healthcare infrastructure is very, very crucial. Structural component, functional component, and the overall awareness and capacity building. This is the reason why we say that human resource or healthcare workers is very crucial. Having understanding of the local context and local information, energy system is very crucial, and finally on the healthy, or probably having a strong or robust infrastructure for future systems. So there are many examples where there are good examples of initiative and pilot or even successful healthcare facilities that built or that are based on not only new buildings but retrofitting buildings and the use of green technology in our systems. So coming back to greening the healthcare facilities, you are talking about energy, water and sanitation, chemical safety, radiation, air quality, and to make sure that occupational health and safety are captured in the healthcare facilities themselves. Many entry points for greening include green procurement, facilities and operation, physical infrastructure, and integrating environmental consideration into the design and delivery of programs and projects. That's all. And I think this is a very important. Stepwise is very fundamental. All healthcare facilities, whether retrofitting or future healthcare facilities, is now moving. There's no more excuse about going to the old system, but moving toward environmentally sustainable healthcare facilities for future generation. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, for sharing with us the policy challenges and opportunities in promoting a healthy and climate smart health facilities in the region. He also highlighted that the health sector can strengthen adaptation strategies to climate change by building resilience in the health sector. If you have any questions, kindly place these on the chat box and we will address these during the open forum after our second speaker. Our next speaker is Dr. Maria Julieta Benedicto. Dr. Benedicto is the Deputy Director for Administration of the Philippine General Hospital. She is currently the Vice President of the Philippine Radiation Oncology Society. She earned her postgraduate certificate in healthcare leadership and management from the School of Executive Education and Lifelong Learning at the Asian Institute of Management. Her fellowship training in radiation oncology at the Section of Radiation Oncology, Department of Radiology, and residency training in diagnostic radiology at the Philippine General Hospital. She finished her Doctor of Medicine degree from the College of Medicine, UP Manila. To discuss barriers and opportunities to the promotion of healthy and climate-smart hospitals, the Philippine General Hospital experience. Let us all welcome PGH Deputy Director Benedicto. Over to you, Dr. Benedicto. You're muted, ma'am.
Share my screen. Well, good morning to all. I would like to thank the organizers for their invitation, and we are grateful for this opportunity to share our experiences in this virtual stage. This will also allow us to learn from our partners for our continuing journey for a healthy hospital. Let me start with the introduction of our institution. The Philippine General Hospital is one of the largest government hospitals in the country, serving as a tertiary referral center for complex and difficult medical cases. During the pandemic, we did serve as a COVID referral center, and as a public hospital, we do face numerous challenges in promoting a healthy environment for our patients, staff, and visitors. We had tried implementing innovative strategies to overcome these barriers, and we do hope that we can learn from each other's experiences. We occupy a 10-hectare area of about 125,000 square meters in the UP Manila campus. Our area now has at least 20 independent buildings or pavilion with an authorized bed capacity of 1,500. Here is a snapshot of our patient census for the past years. Blue reflects those outpatient consultations averaging about 50,000 per month. Red are our inpatient admissions, and green are our emergency cases that are roughly around 200 emergency cases addressed in a day. As a training hospital, we are not only involved in the training of doctors, but also have active collaborations with the trainings of our nurses and various paramedical staff, including our rad techs, med techs, speech pathologists, pharmacists, nutritionists, dietitian, and for the year 2022, about 4,000 trainees benefited from these various programs. Besides service and training, we are also into research. Flash before you are our research output, which validates existing practices and protocols and guides the administration in the planning of future directions. All of these responsibilities would not have been possible if not for the dedication and effort of our personnel, now numbering about 4,400. Herewith is the outline of my presentation guided by the Department of Health's green viability parameters. Let's begin to explore these challenges as well as the opportunities created to overcome them. Let me start with site sustainability. PGH is about 116 years old, and to keep up with its mandate, timely renovation, upgrading, and expansion of its infrastructure and facilities are necessary. The first challenge we had is that we had to update our master plan, guiding the directions of the hospital's expansion program. This created the opportunity for the current administration to start working on a general blueprint for all future developments at the start of the term of the office. We now have a master site development plan for the next 25 years. At the left-hand picture of your screen is the white buildings there reflects the new buildings that will rise with the accompanying the expansion of the hospital. This year, we have just recently held a topping off ceremony for the new 15-story multi-specialty building, which is at the right lower hand side, with a roof deck as shown in the upper right-hand side picture. All of these new buildings were designed to be eco-friendly, energy efficient, and a green construction project. Our Cancer Institute, on the other hand, on the left side, is still robust and still functioning as a cancer one-stop shop. With the increasing need to expand our oncologic services, we had collaborated with other government agencies like the National Economic and Development Authority, the Department of Science and Technology, Department of Public Works and Highways, and the Department of Health, among others, for the Public-Private Partnership Cancer Center project, which is now ongoing procurement. A picture of it will be shown at the right side, which will be beside the historical building of the Cancer Institute. This will give us the opportunity to consolidate all other oncologic service and bring them all to one building, at the same time creating a better operational efficiency in the attendance of our cancer patients. The master plan also details a set of standards of materials, paint colors, signages for any repairs, renovation, and upgrading of our existing policies, which we hope in the future will have a uniform effect as we try to accomplish the renovation of our existing areas one by one. This is basically because of budget constraint. Shown here is the recent renovations of our emergency room, providing a glimpse of the future outlook of our facility. All have been updated into LED light, using LED lighting, dedicated water pump system, having improvement in ventilation and central air conditioning, and the establishment of isolation rooms, decontamination rooms, among others. With environmental resilient, as an environmental resilient health facility, besides the plan for our Cancer Institute as historical building, we have also recently restored another heritage building in our area. One significant barrier for the restoration of a heritage building is to have a qualified contractor with experience in historical restorations in accordance to the National Historic Commission of the Philippines. There was much effort in crafting a construction methodology to ensure that we preserve the values of the past, and at the same time with future amenities. Flash on the right side is the same building, now fully restored and operational. Because of our limited green spaces, we had also tried to rehabilitate the different nooks and crannies of the hospital, from the parking lots to the sides of our building, improving landscaping, installation of gravel beddings, and along drip lines has already been initiated. Colorful potted plants line our sidewalks by the dorm, with pruning of overgrown trees and planting of flowery species by licensed foresters had greatly improved our surroundings. We are also embarking on the continuous training of our ground staff and in the updating of our maintenance contract to ensure that these have been maintained properly. Setting up of white stones in the different area without sunlight is a good alternative to the beautification of the area. We are fortunate that the regulatory bodies of the Department of Energy had outlined policies and programs for implementation, as we had started with no as-built documentation and are now continuously upgrading our electrical system and planning to address all our limited generator power. We are grateful that the technical assistance and collaboration among partners from the private sector, like the Meralco, who is our service provider, have been active, and they have been assisting our Office of the Engineering and Fire Engineering professionals in planning electrical upgrades, redundancy of our electrical supply, to ensure that we have enough for the hospital's needs. Regular reminders and disseminations through various memorandums and consequent training of staff has been done since 2007. Energy conservation and austerity measures have been in place since then, with a regular dissemination of our programs, including conservation efforts and change in mindset. Because of our aging infrastructure, our water lines are likewise in need of updating. Our water bill at the moment runs in the millions, most probably due to leaks that are occurring under our old buildings. As adequate funding is usually one barrier to overcome, we are grateful for the private donations and collaborations of different agencies, helping us upgrade our current water situation. The blue lines reflected herewith is the major renovation of all our water lines with the assistance of Manila, which is our water concessionaire in the area. Facilities maintenance and upkeep is also a challenge for a big hospital with limited resources and a workforce with an ever-increasing patient population. To ensure safety of our staff and patients in the area, regular testings of all our faucets, sinks, and the like are done in collaboration with the UP College of Public Health. This frequent monitoring had encouraged the regular review of our protocols and guidelines, and had also raised awareness among our staff, resulting to a more vigilant monitoring. We had also embarked on the campaign to bring your own water bottle, and with the help of our partners providing drinking fountains in the different dormitories and identified areas in the hospital, we are trying to reduce plastic waste in the area. With the help of other government agencies and private donors, we're also fortunate to be beneficiaries of several rainwater collector systems that provides our urgent water needs and water allocation for our garden. Usually each system can provide a day supply of the adjacent areas. With the help of government, with the help of our other government agencies, cisterns also provide our emergency water needs in times of limited supply. Here is the map of our area, with the blue being our rainwater system and the red our cistern facilities. Each new building that will rise in the future will have its own dedicated water supply facility. Flooding in the surrounding areas has also become more prominent. We had embarked on regular declogging of our sewer lines in coordination with the local government unit, the Department of Public Works and Highways, and the Metro Manila Development Agency. All our efforts to declog our drainage inflow will not be beneficial if the drainage output or outflow are not also mitigated. So our coordination with them is essential. Healthcare waste management. PGH has a healthcare waste management committee that enforces waste management policies throughout the entire hospital. We have 5 pollution control officers assigned to designated particular sectors of the hospital who works with our clinical nursing and area managers for the proper implementation of our guidelines. Segregation of waste is a continuing challenge. Besides the usual color coding of our trash cans, areas to deposit plastic bottles, signages on what goes where is very helpful in the understanding of our patient. Education and training remains to be the most effective tool in ensuring compliance among them. Prohibition of plastics and styrofoam is in effect in the entire campus. This has the goal of reducing waste, at the same time creating awareness for all staff and visitors. This encourages us to at least recycle what we have and bring what we need so that we don't add on to the waste within the hospital. Active feedbacks from both our pollution control officers and the nursing managers are essential in the continued implementation of guidelines, especially since there is a continuous and constant change in the number of admitted patients, their caregivers, and borderless staffing patterns. With limited funds and need to update equipment so that we can provide the necessary services, biomedical maintenance and upkeep needs to be active. However, with the improvement of technology and there is a need for constant training and assistance from our service providers. We have tapped the assistance of some outsourced technical experts to help us with this issue. Active collaboration with other health facilities are also in place so that other materials that we may not be using or have been donated to us may be used by other agencies in need of it. Maximum utilization of our existing equipment is very necessary to provide adequate service. Our challenge, however, is the availability of spare parts and the need for continuous learning of new technical skills to match the procurement of new and sometimes state-of-the-art equipment. There is also a need to provide adequate ventilation and airflow exchanges in the different areas. Exhaust systems have been revitalized and monitored, and the need for a proper and regular maintenance are also a hurdle to overcome with limited budget and workforce. Here is our current atrium with the improved landscaping and ventilation. High ceilings, screened windows on both sides of the ward, ceiling fans, wall fans to induce proper ventilation, and dedicated areas with positive and negative pressures, helping curb infections and improving the ventilation of our areas. natural lighting with LED features and fixtures contribute to a more efficient system. Challenge again will be the upkeep and maintenance of this facility as we have more than 16 wards and at least 20 more buildings with patients to maintain regularly. Governance. The creation of the different office committees, like our Disaster Preparedness Committee, Occupational Health and Safety Committee, our Quality Improvement and Patient Safety Committee, among others, help us assure that monitoring and implementation of set policies are always in place. They are the one responsible for regularly coordinating with all our areas to ensure that our policies are complied with. Members have been reconstituted on a regular basis so that the information can be trickled down to all our employees. The creation of the DOH Green Viability Tool represents a dedicated effort in undertakings to enhance the energy efficiency of climate resilient hospital. This includes the pursuit of standards to ensure facilities adhere to regulatory standards. We had recently been evaluated as a 4-star institution and had committed to continuously improve our existing system. The continued staff development and regular risk assessment of all areas and appropriate mitigation still key in our continued compliance. Addressing health requirements require a comprehensive collaboration involving both the government, other agencies, private donors, and all our members of society, ensuring optimal health and well-being of our patients. Being granted an environmental compliance certificate is also a recognition of our commitment to a sustainable practice and environmental stewardship. As a summary, promoting healthy hospitals is indeed a complex task that requires multifaceted approach. While there are numerous barriers in achieving this goal, there are also many opportunities to make progress. Continuous trainings and regular review of existing protocols and guidelines help improve the overall system. As our hospital strives to improve our current status, I hope that I have provided some insights regarding our experiences and challenge, and at least provide the best practice that we are implementing. I'd like to thank members of our IRPD, Orly, Gian, and our Engineer Lopez, and Engineer Sam from our custodial services for their assistance in the preparation of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Benedicto, for sharing with us the PGH experience and its initiatives as a healthy and climate-smart hospital. Thank you very much to both of our resource persons for their presentations. Now let's go to our open forum to address the questions of our participants. Dr. Benedicto, kayo lang po ang live na nandito. So we are receiving questions po addressed to you. So for our first question, how does the evidence on return of investment in climate-proofing hospital operations contribute to the understanding of the economic benefits and long-term sustainability of such investments? Is there any specific example or evidence of ROI or savings by hospitals, or in this case, PGH po, that we can use to advocate greening hospital operations?
I think PGH is lucky as we have the support of the national government. We don't usually think about return of investments. So actually, our budget has been increasing through the years because we would like to address all of these things that has to be addressed, including as you know, the improvement of our facilities and the like. And I think for the past years under the administration of Director Legaspi, our budget has been increasing. So technically, we are able to at least get the necessary equipment, improve services, and at the same time do some renovations. It's just that we have to do it on a piece bill basis because the hospital is always operational and we cannot just close a sector to do the changes that is necessary.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Benedicto. It's good to note that our budget is increasing po naman per year. Hopefully, tuloy-tuloy po yan. All right. Next question po. Among the challenges that you mentioned, which is the most challenging one in promoting a healthy and climate-smart hospital, and how are you addressing it?
I think the most significant challenge is actually the coordination and to come up coordination with necessary or concerned end user for technical improvements of what we want to do. As you can see, we are 116 years old. So most of our main focus will be with the infrastructure improvement. And as you know, to do that, we will need a lot of technical assistance from engineering to those in sanitation, public health, and the like, so that we can have a good terms of reference or a good construction methodology before we can implement any changes. I think that's the most crucial step that usually hampers us from moving forward at a faster rate than we would like to prefer. But I think with a good plan, like the dorm one and nurses home, we can at least execute it at the end of everything to what we have hoped to achieve.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Benedicto. So, yun nga, no, yung infrastructure talaga as usual. And, syempre, to address it is having a good plan and sticking to that plan. All right. Hopefully, ayan, I think we have time for one more question, Dr. Benedicto. Is there a population density study for the master plans inside UP Manila and PGH, traffic impact assessment using the master development plan, and environmental impact assessment of all the buildings? There's a new PGH Diliman. And why are we trying to build everything inside the UP Manila campus daw po? You're muted, ma'am.
Being granted the environmental compliance certificate already guarantees that there are studies with regards to traffic impact, traffic assessment within the area, and all of these things, including bird population in our area and the like. Now, when you ask why are we building everything here and not in the other areas, so far the expansion that we are doing with regards, as you know, we have limited spaces. The only way we can expand is going up. So our buildings, which are already old and needs to be either retrofitted or renovated, it would be better to have a new building with all the green efficiency, with all the green projects and the efficiency that is required up to standards. So that's the focus for now. Now, with regards to the UP Diliman, I think the UP Diliman PGH has yet to undergo procurement. I think the terms of reference was set back for review so that there will be a more robust planning on how of its execution. But we do agree, since there are efforts of the DOH to have and to support the different government hospitals in different areas, we do hope that all of these will decongest those going to the metro so that we can only concentrate on the areas that we have. It just so happens that I think it has been a usual practice for many to go all the way to PGH, even if their concerns are of primary health. So we do support the efforts of the government to at least prioritize universal health care and then have it implemented at the outskirts or in the provinces or in the local government units so that tertiary hospitals like PGH can be decongested of the patients that they need to attend to.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Benedicto. I think this is our last question for the interest of time. What were the lessons learned during the pandemic in the areas of wastewater management and water sanitation and hygiene? You're muted, ma'am. Sorry po.
During the pandemic, there was an increase in our hazardous waste material because everybody has to have their PPE. And you have to frequently change PPE when you go from patient to patient. So there was also a challenge in the disposal because um, our disposal machines usually are having problems with regards to the material of our PPEs. But I think now, because of since everybody is more conscious about what to do, everybody is now more, how to say, conscientious of the use of materials that needs to be done. What is the other? I think I can't remember the other issue.
Ano po, ma'am? Areas of water sanitation and hygiene.
Okay. I think all our areas, especially where our bantay-antayans or where areas where the caregivers are usually at, all of those have been retrofitted with a sink-like structure, so that more or less we can encourage them to do what should be done, regular hand washing and the like, which is still the most effective way of preventing infection. With regards to sanitation, we have renewed our contracts with regards to the proper disposal of hazardous waste. And I think the key is always education of our staff and our patient. Because of the frequent shifting of duties from one shift to another and one department to another, the rules and regulation of the different areas needs to be always emphasized and reiterated so that proper handling of any hazardous waste is implemented.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Benedicto. I think that's it for our open forum. Thank you very much to everyone for that very fruitful discussion. At this point, we would like to thank our speakers by awarding these certificates of appreciation. The certificate reads, College of Public Health, UP Manila, Simeo TropMed Regional Center for Public Health, Hospital Administration, Environmental and Occupational Health, in collaboration with Healthcare Without Harm, Southeast Asia, awards the Certificate of Appreciation to for their invaluable contribution for sharing their expertise as resource person during the 6th Environmental and Occupational Health Forum conducted by the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health and Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia, done remotely on November 23 to 24, 2023, signed by Dr. Victoria B. Molina, overall chair of the 6th EOH Forum, Mr. Ramon San Pascual, co-chair of the 6th EOH Forum, Dr. Crystal Amiel Estrada, DEOH chair, Dr. TJ Robinson Moncatar, assistant to the Dean for Planning and Development, and Dr. Fernando B. Garcia Jr., our Dean and Center Director. So now let's award the certificate. So the College of Public Health and Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia award the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Nasir Hassan. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Now we award the Certificate of Appreciation to Deputy Director Benedicto. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, may we kindly request you to stay on the camera for a quick photo op. Let us also invite Dr. Vic Molina, the overall chair for the organizing committee for the 6th EOH Forum, Mr. Ramon Pascual, organizing committee co-chair, and Dr. Crystal Amiel Estrada, our department chair, to join the photo op. Please turn on your videos. Ayan, Dr. Vic Molina. What about Dr. Sir Mon Pascual and Dr. Estrada? Alright, nandiyan pa ba si Sir Mon? Okay. Ayan, Sir Mon, thank you very much. I think we're complete. May we request request our assistant to prompt us for the photo op.
Okay po, I'll be taking your picture po in 3, 2, 1. Saka po. 3, 2, 1. Okay po.
Alright, thank you very much, Che. Alright, maraming salamat po sa ating lahat. Again, thank you very much to our speakers for their excellent presentations. And this concludes our second panel discussion. We will now have our wellness break. So we will resume at 10:21. So 5-minute break. So may butal po, no? So we will resume at 10:21. So this has been your moderator. It's a pleasure to join you this morning. I am Dr. Bing Fadrilan Camacho. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
All right, welcome back. I'm filling in for Dr. Michelle. So I'd like to greet everyone a good morning again and welcome to the second part of our morning. I hope you had a short rest from the series of sessions that we've been listening to. Okay, so I would like to greet first our guests, alumni, and friends from the Department of Health, from Clean Air Asia, the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, from the Occupational Health Nurses Association of the Philippines, and of course our other partners and guests who are here with us. So before we proceed, please allow me to introduce our moderator. Okay, our moderator for the following sessions is Dr. Paul Michael R. Hernandez. He graduated cum laude when he earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Biology from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He then pursued Doctor of Medicine in UP Manila. He finished his Master of Occupational Health in 2012 and received the Academic Excellence Award for the said program. Dr. Hernandez served as the department chair and the assistant to the dean for planning and development of the College of Public Health. In 2018, he worked as a project assistant professor of the Department of Global Health Sciences of the University of Ryukyu, Okinawa, Japan. He is also serving as the director of the UP Manila Healthy University office. I would like now to turn over the virtual floor to our moderator, Dr. Hernandez. Over to you, Dr. PM.
Thank you, Prof. Abby. Welcome to our concluding lecture titled The Future of the Hospital in the Era of the Climate Crisis and Planetary Health. Our lone speaker for this session is Dr. Renzo Ginto. Dr. Renzo Ginto is the Associate Professor of the Practice of Global Public Health and Inaugural Director of the Planetary and Global Health Program of the St. Luke's Medical Center College of Medicine here in the Philippines. Dr. Ginto is also a member of the National Panel of Technical Experts of the Climate Change Commission of the Philippines and convener of Planetary Health Philippines, a community of Filipino scholars and practitioners for advancing the new discipline of planetary health. Dr. Ginto obtained his Doctor of Public Health from Harvard University and Doctor of Medicine from the University of the Philippines, Manila. He also received further training from Oxford, Copenhagen, Western Cape, and East-West Center in Hawaii. In 2022, Dr. Ginto was named one of the outstanding young men and women of the Philippines for his contributions to health and medicine and for pioneering the field of planetary health in the country. In 2023, the St. Luke's Planetary and Global Health Program, which he founded, was awarded the inaugural CUGH Belgi Planetary Health Innovation Award by the Consortium of Universities for Global Health. Unfortunately, Dr. Ginto is not able to join us live today, but he has prepared a recording for us. Still, participants can share their questions via the Zoom chat box. Dr. Ginto will be more than happy to respond to such queries. His answers will eventually be shared to us participants. I would like to request our technical staff to play Dr. Ginto's lecture. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much for this wonderful invitation. Unfortunately, I cannot join you live because right now I'm in Utrecht, the Netherlands, where I just gave a keynote address at the European Congress on Global Health. I shared to nearly 2,000 scientists, scholars, and practitioners the climate and health story of the Philippines, the efforts of our different sectors, and the resilience of the Filipino people. But it's hard to say no to an invitation from my alma mater, the University of the Philippines, Manila, and from my friends at the College of Public Health, Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, and of course, Healthcare Without Harm. I used to be part of Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia, and I continue to be an ally and collaborator and comrade in trying to green the health sector and improve the climate resilience of health systems in the Philippines, in Asia, and worldwide. Today, I'm going to talk about the future of the hospital in the era of climate crisis and planetary health. I understand that in the past several 2 days, you already had the chance to talk about many aspects of climate smart healthcare. How do we build the resilience of health systems, but also to reduce the carbon footprint? And so I hope that this presentation will not only reinforce what you already learned, but also will help you envision the future of the hospital in the long run. And I want to begin by defining and describing the concept of planetary health, which is mentioned in my title. I'm currently leading the first planetary health program in an academic medical center in the Philippines and Southeast Asia. And planetary health, this new powerful concept, basically just reminds us that the health of our people and the health of our planet are inextricably intertwined. In fact, they're inseparable. And I always remind my medical students, the future doctors of our country and our world, that now in the 21st century, we have two patients, not just the people, but also the planet. And this is the situation now of our planetary health. Of course, over the past 3 years, we've been very concerned about waves of COVID-19, as you can see in this cartoon. But I think this convening is also emphasizing that we cannot anymore ignore not just the future waves, but future anticipated tsunamis of climate change and biodiversity collapse, and all their myriad consequences on human health, but also to health systems, to the health sector, and even to our hospitals and other health facilities. And planetary health really is founded on this idea that our health is now shaped by the environment, the changes in the environment, which are in turn driven by a wide array of human activities. Many of them are damaging to the environment. Many of them are destructive, unfortunately, in nature. I'm introducing a new term, the Anthropocene. Anthropo, of course, we know means man, anthropology, anthropometrics, and anthropogenic, because the changes now that we're seeing in our global environment are anthropogenic, human-induced, human-driven, driven by, for example, as you can see in this diagram, our consumption patterns, the demographic shifts that we see, like rapid urbanization or continuous population mobility and migration, and technological advancement. Everybody is looking forward to acquiring the latest version of whether it's the iPhone or any kind of gadget. And all of these human drivers are then creating a wide array of ecological damages. We are talking now about climate change. I already mentioned biodiversity loss, but also different kinds of pollution to the air, water, and land. And all of these, we know, are going to impact the health of ourselves and of entire populations. On your right, you will see that every single disease group is going to be affected by the changes in the environment induced by human activities in the epoch or the era of the Anthropocene, our nutritional status, infectious diseases like dengue, or even future COVID-19s, non-communicable diseases, perhaps due to exposure to air pollution or intense heat, displacements of entire populations, which can lead to future conflicts. And of course, even mental health, the health of our brains and our hearts are usually largely influenced by the changing environment. And so we need to start talking about, the future of our health, the future of our health systems, and the future of the hospital in the era of the Anthropocene. And to further inform our thinking around, the future of hospitals, it's very important to not only understand and, measure and assess the health of our people, but also the health of the planet. And this convening is focused on climate change, but we have to remember, which I already alluded to a while ago, that we are currently facing a wide set or array of planetary threats, existential threats that can jeopardize, endanger the future of humanity. And I want to introduce to you the concept of the planetary boundaries, which was developed by colleagues from the Stockholm Resilience Center in Sweden. When we say boundaries, these are limits that cannot be violated or breached, because if we do so, then it makes the planet less conducive for human survival, for human health, for living. And in this diagram, you can see that there are 9 planetary boundaries that have already been identified. And unfortunately, out of the 9, 6 are already violated or breached. Let me just enumerate those. Climate change, because now our global climate system is continuously being destabilized by still the ongoing emissions of carbon and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Biosphere integrity, over the past century, we've seen the fastest rate of extinction of creatures great and small, and we know that in preserving the integrity of biodiversity of our ecosystems is critical for the provision of natural medicines or food, and for the survival of all other species that are critical for the preservation of our environment. Land system change is also has also been breached. Unfortunately, we've been turning our natural ecosystems, rainforests, into farmlands or subdivisions or golf courses or new cities. Freshwater change also has been violated, because now our lakes and rivers are not only overconsumed because of overpopulation or increasing needs, for example, in cities or for agricultural purposes, but also we are now seeing or witnessing over-contamination of all these bodies of water with all the products, chemicals that we're releasing into the environment. Biogeochemical flows of phosphorus and nitrogen have already been disrupted as well because of our addiction to artificial fertilizers, for instance, in the pursuit of large-scale agriculture. And finally, novel entities has also been violated, the boundary for novel entities, because we've been manufacturing and inventing new chemicals that we release to the environment. One of the most important examples is plastic. And now we see plastic not only floating in the oceans and seas, but also now flowing in our bloodstream, as discovered by Dutch scientists just last year. And so 6 out of 9 boundaries. This should be a cause for alarm and a call for urgency, for urgent action to us, to the health sector, but also to the hospital community. And, the health sector is not, is also part of creating, these existential threats, these problems, these environmental challenges. We're not exempted from, I would say, the planetary health crisis that we're facing. This is a study that was published a few years ago, which tried to estimate the ecological footprint of the global health sector. And just by eyeballing in that diagram, and as you can see, it's very similar to the planetary boundaries framework a while ago. Basically, it just shows that the health sector is also contributing to the violation of the boundaries, greenhouse gases, contamination of water, the disruption of the biogeochemical cycles of other important compounds, but also air pollution, among others. And then on your right, you will see, and it's from another study that, and this is from Europe. We don't have, unfortunately, very good numbers for Asia. Maybe that's a future research that needs to be done. But as you can see, the share of the health sector's emissions as part of the country's total emissions is also significant, especially for countries with more advanced healthcare systems. And, this is from Healthcare Without Harm, and maybe they've already presented these numbers or these pie charts, but I just want to emphasize that, healthcare is contributing to emissions through different sources. We have scope 1, those that are emitted on-site, scope 2, those are that are emitted off-site through the electricity grid, and scope 3 through the supply chain, the medicines that we purchase, the food that we procure and serve to our patients and staff, the travel that is entailed in, for example, the delivery of healthcare through our ambulances, etc. So all of these are contributing to carbon emissions. We have our own share in the climate crisis. And even if you look at parts of the hospital, you can see that different aspects of the operations of that section of the hospital, for example, in the operating theater, actually also contributes to carbon emissions. And this is a very interesting study by a colleague and friend, Andrea McNeil from UBC Vancouver. And you will see that, different operating theaters have different sources of emissions. And this is something that we may want to do also in Southeast Asia, for instance, measuring the carbon footprint not only of entire hospitals, but of specific sections of hospitals that we know are carbon intensive, so that we can find ways and develop strategies to reduce the emissions from healthcare delivery. Meanwhile, while the health sector is contributing to emissions, to pollution, the health sector is also not very ready when it comes to the impacts of climate change on human health. We're not resilient, we're not adaptive. And just last week, the Lancet published the 2023 version of the Lancet Countdown on Health and Climate Change. It's an annual report that monitors progress, both the impacts of climate change on human health, but also the health sector actions to address climate change. And, I will not belabor you with the details. You're seeing some really, scary numbers, how climate change is going to lead to more heat-related deaths or food insecurity or dengue increase. Now we're seeing dengue in parts of the world that they used to be non-existent because dengue is a tropical disease. Now you can find it even in temperate regions like Europe. And so the question is, are our hospitals ready for what I just described to you a while ago? Those impacts of climate change that are now being documented, that are projected to increase in the long run. And of course, it's not just the hospitals, it's entire health systems that should be resilient. But we know the vital role that hospitals play in healthcare delivery. But unfortunately, the medical community in general is operating or continues to operate as if the global climate system is doing okay. In fact, it's not just that we're unready for climate change. We're also contributing, as I've said, to climate change. And during these past 3 years, during this pandemic or past pandemic, we've also even created new forms of pollution, like plastic pollution or PPE pollution of personal protective equipment. Now you can see them floating again in our oceans, in our seas, in our rivers. And so that is just a consequence of a healthcare sector that does not have environmental sustainability as part of its DNA. Right now, it's more of an add-on or ad hoc or something extra that we're doing. And now we need to ask the question, are we ready to build health systems that consider the climate? As a teacher of medical students, I always ask myself, are we ready to produce the next generation of health professionals who care not just for the people, but also the planet? And maybe we should be asking, are we ready to design or redesign our hospitals that centers environmental sustainability in its operations, in its design, in the way they are planned, in the way they are run? And we know that hospitals are important. That's why we're having this convening, especially in the past few years and even in the past few weeks. We have realized how vital, how essential hospitals are, not only in terms of healthcare delivery, but hospitals also have huge implications, even for environmental sustainability and even for peace and security across the world. We've seen hospitals being overwhelmed during COVID-19, but also forced to innovate, to come up with new ways in order to absorb the surge, of patients resulting from epidemics. We have seen, and even especially in the Philippines, we've been seeing hospitals ravaged by typhoons and flooding. And the question is how we can make sure that hospitals bend without breaking, that they are the last building standing when climate-related disasters strike. But also we've seen how hospitals are being weaponized, being used by people as a refuge, but also being attacked by different forces. For example, in places of conflict. And I just want to echo, and while this is not at the heart of our topic today, we cannot just ignore the fact that hospitals should not be a target for conflict, for war. There are international instruments that govern the protection of hospitals and health systems. And if we have those instruments in the context of conflict, now is the time to also look at how we can protect hospitals in times of climate crisis. And over the past 3 years, also there has been a avalanche of articles written about the future of the hospital. Some focus on ensuring that hospitals are not scary places, are places that really make patients not only healthy but also happy when they leave the facility. Some papers have focused more on the role of digital technology and even artificial intelligence in making hospitals, quote unquote, smarter. And then there are also articles saying, or even telling us that the hospital of the future won't be what you expect because they don't have walls, they go beyond the building, and maybe the hospital of the future will even be your own home. And we've seen that also during the pandemic, when a lot of the, for example, testing, self-testing, self-care, home management were done not in the facility, but instead in the home, in order to ensure that infection is not spread, to ensure that hospitals are not overwhelmed, and we focus the resources on those who truly need advanced hospital care, and also to protect people. And we know that homes can also be the safest places, especially in times of pandemic, and also maybe in times of climate crisis. But yes, there will be revolutions in the way we design or redesign healthcare, including the hospital, through the centralization, through strengthening the connection between the hospital and the community, or even deloading some of the functions and putting them at the level of primary care or even at home. But the hospitals nonetheless are here to stay, and we need to think about how to solve the climate crisis one hospital at a time. This is an article that I actually wrote in 2016, when I think there were only a few hospitals, not only in the Philippines, but around the world, that have begun thinking about climate change, environmental sustainability. And I also want to borrow this quote from Healthcare Without Harm, that perhaps our future vision should be hospitals that are agents or vehicles of regenerative healthcare. Hospitals that do not only sustain life and health, but also repair and restore what has been degraded or lost. And so maybe this is really where we're headed to. And I think, there are already emerging discussions about how to center this in the design of the future hospital. I also want to call your attention to this new report from the World Health Organization European region, which I think is still very applicable for the Western Pacific region, for the Southeast Asia region of the WHO. This is a technical brief on rethinking the architecture of hospitals. And, I just did a screenshot of the table of contents just to show to you what are these different elements that we are now talking about when it comes to rethinking, reimagining the architecture of hospitals. We're not anymore just concerned about what's inside the hospital, the interior, but also how the hospital engages with the community, with its environment, both social and natural. And again, here you will see we're looking at issues like where to place the hospital, how to connect the hospital to different parts of the health system. How do we maximize natural landscape and healing outdoor environments. And then if you go to the inside of the hospital, we're now talking not only about functional design and infrastructure sustainability, including environmental sustainability, but also making hospitals safe working spaces and ensuring safety and security for patients and staff alike. And also digitalization, as you can see there, and even improving the internal, or the indoor environment. We've ignored, for example, improving indoor air quality during COVID-19 when we learned that the airborne transmission of COVID-19 is already established. And so how do we incorporate all of these into the new agenda for future hospitals? I'm sure you already discussed climate smart healthcare. Just want to emphasize that it's really the convergence between sustainability and resilience, reducing our emissions, but also adapting to the changes, making sure we are the last building standing, while at the same time, we're not harming the planet, as we also made a commitment to not harm people and patients. And these are just a reminder of the different sources of carbon in a healthcare facility, which I already mentioned a while ago. And in 2021, I worked with Healthcare Without Harm in doing some modeling exercise to answer the question, is it possible to keep on expanding universal healthcare to people while at the same time decarbonizing the health sector, reducing its environmental footprint? So just by eyeballing this graph, you will see that it's possible as long as we do, what Healthcare Without Harm calls the 7 high impact actions, shifting to renewable energy, zero emissions buildings, zero emissions transport, healthy and sustainable food to serve inside the hospital, incentivizing low carbon pharmaceutical procurements, applying circular healthcare and sustainable healthcare waste management, and establishing greater health system effectiveness to reduce wastage in the resources that we use. And I'm sure Healthcare Without Harm also has shared with you this agenda already. I'll not go into the details. You can see there are 10 areas that we can work on to improve the environmental sustainability of our healthcare facilities, including hospitals. I encourage you to visit the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals website. So one of my hobbies when I go around the Philippines is to take photos of hospitals that are already embracing solar power, for example. And so this is something, that is perhaps low-hanging fruit, something we can already do soon across many hospitals in the country. And then I just want to cite some examples from outside the Philippines. Taiwan is leading, for example, in terms of healthy and sustainable diets being served to their patients and staff. So this one is from the Dalin Shuchi Hospital in Taiwan, where they're already producing the food within their own backyard, therefore reducing the carbon footprint not only of large-scale agricultural production, but also long-distance transport. And then now, when it comes to resilience and adaptation, this is a framework from the WHO, which basically reminds us that we want health systems that do not collapse, that recover better than before, and even transform in the face of climate-related shocks like a typhoon, a cyclone, or stresses like food insecurity or outbreaks. And so I just want to invite you that the WHO just released this update of the operational framework that they developed early in 2015. But this time they have combined climate resilience and low carbon healthcare into a single framework. So hopefully this is going to be useful for many of you. And this is what we're using now in some of our projects at St. Luke's, working with local communities, trying to, again, improve their climate resilience by looking at their health plans and their climate plans, making sure that they talk to one another, and also doing some facility assessments and capacity building of health workers, from the doctors all the way to the barangay health workers. And then we need to also start incorporating climate smart healthcare into pandemic preparedness and response. I just want to share this report that I co-wrote also in 2021 basically looking at how we can incorporate climate resilience and low carbon strategies into the different phases of the pandemic, from preparedness all the way to response and vaccine delivery, and eventually to recovery and the return to normal. We need to also start thinking about the different vertical disease programs that we have. So, for example, I co-wrote this article on HIV/AIDS programming and how climate change is anticipated to affect the way we deliver HIV care, from the early testing all the way to antiretroviral treatment, and making sure that HIV/AIDS programming is also not harming the planet by embracing environmental sustainability. And then we also have, we have to start embracing what we call climate services for health, climate data, and how we can use this for better decision-making within healthcare. And so this year, the World Meteorological Organization actually chose health as the focus of their annual State of Climate Services. And for example, in the Philippines, we have an underutilized tool that is already available, which is Hazard Hunter PH, coming from the Department of Science and Technology. This should be a part of the toolkit of health professionals. Here, you can see my hometown, Calamba. We tried to look at which parts of the city will be inundated by flooding if climate change continues to worsen. And what we're realizing is that there are several health facilities that are actually located in those high-risk areas. So this is a very good tool that we can use for better planning the locations of our future health facilities or hospitals, or identifying hospitals or health facilities that need to be disaster-proof or even relocated. And then we need to educate the next generation of health professionals. And so here I am showing to you the Climate Smart Healthcare course that we offered at St. Luke's along with Healthcare Without Harm in 2022. And hopefully we can offer this maybe also with UP because we need to really create a cadre of health professionals and hospital administrators that know how to, redesign healthcare and healthcare facilities to not be only low carbon, but also to be resilient to climate change. This is another course that we offered early this year. I invite you to visit the website because all the recordings are available to the public. This is a course on climate and health that we offered to nearly 700 health professionals from across Southeast Asia. We offered this St. Luke's along with Healthcare Without Harm and Columbia University in New York. And then this really requires a lot of investment, this agenda. And so, we need to start thinking about investing in, the buildings and relocation and improving the design of our health facilities. I just want to share with you an example from the United States where a rehabilitation hospital in Boston was, elevated in order to make sure that it can actually withstand sea level rise in the long run. And the Philippines is a country that is facing some of the fastest rates of sea level rise in the world. And we have many communities and hospitals along the coastlines and in islands. And so we should start thinking about how to sea level rise proof our health facilities across the country. So now I'm reaching the end of my talk, the last phase. And I just want to highlight that we in the Philippines are not lacking of policy instruments to guide this new agenda. I'm part of the Climate Change Commission's National Panel of Technical Experts, and at COP28 in 2 weeks' time, we will be launching the National Adaptation Plan of the country. And as you can see, health is central to the country's National Adaptation Plan. And part of the interventions that are needed is to strengthen the ability of our hospitals to address climate change, but also to reduce their environmental footprint. And we are grateful to the Department of Health that we have these manuals and frameworks already available, such as the Green and Safe Health Facilities Manual. This is a good start. And now our challenge is to make sure this is implemented across the country. I hope that the Philippines will also join the ATACH, the Alliance for Transformative Action on Climate and Health, which is a WHO-led initiative. It includes health systems from around the world that made a commitment 2 years ago at COP26 in Glasgow to establish low carbon and climate resilient national health systems. Unfortunately, the Philippines is not yet part of this movement, along with other ASEAN neighbors. So hopefully we will all be joining this very important global initiative. And we need to also tap new forms of funding from, for example, from the climate space. And for example, it's great that the Laos, one of our neighboring countries in ASEAN, is the first ever recipient of a health-focused green climate fund, as you can see here, to strengthen the climate resilience of their national health system. Hopefully, more countries in our region will be receiving this support. And then I encourage everybody to also visit these two websites. Right now, I am chairing the thematic working group on climate resilient and sustainable health systems of Health Systems Global, where we are really discussing this emerging agenda around the nexus of climate change and health systems. And then we also have a new Lancet Commission on Sustainable Healthcare led by Yale and the University of British Columbia. And I'm leading the group focusing on adaptation, risk, and resilience. And so I invite you to contribute, provide inputs to these ongoing processes, because this is a global agenda that is rapidly emerging. And finally, I just want to highlight that this agenda will not prosper if we ignore the politics of hospitals. There's politics everywhere. And as you can see here, there are many ways by which politics play into the governance of hospitals, for example. There's politics within hospitals, between departments and within the administration. There's politics between the hospital and the rest of the health system, like primary care and communities. Hospitals are also political institutions, as I already alluded to a while ago. They can serve as a community anchor, but also as a political weapon. But also there's politics now between hospital objectives. Some will say profit and efficiency is primal, but quality and safety needs to be advanced. But also now we have new objectives like environmental sustainability. So we need to be more politically savvy to understand the political dynamics around hospitals if we want our hospitals to be climate smart, climate ready in the long run. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Together, let's create the hospitals of the future that will advance the health of both people and the planet. Thank you and congratulations.
All right. So we would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Renzo Ginto, for emphasizing principles, concepts, data, and initiatives on planetary health. I have noted the following key points. Firstly, planetary health requires health professionals to recognize both the people and planet as patients. The healthcare sector also contributes to the violation of the planetary boundaries, particularly its carbon footprint. Future healthcare facilities shall be reoriented towards regenerative healthcare. Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia, our partner for this event, enjoins everyone to contribute to the 7 high-impact actions to decarbonize the health sector. And lastly, there are initiatives towards the creation of climate-resilient and low-carbon health systems in the Philippines, the region, and the entire world. At this juncture, we would like to express our appreciation to our speaker, Dr. Renzo Ginto, by awarding the Certificate of Appreciation. The certificate reads, College of Public Health, University of the Philippines, Manila, Simeo Troped Regional Center for Public Health, Hospital Administration, Environmental and Occupational Health, in collaboration with Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia, awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Ramon Lorenzo Luis R. Ginto for his invaluable contribution by sharing his expertise as resource person during the 6th Environmental and Occupational Health Forum conducted by the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health and Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia remotely on 23 to 24 November 2023. Given this 24th day of November in the year 2023 in the city of Manila, Philippines. Signed, Dr. Victoria B. Molina, Overall Chair of the 6th EOH Forum, Mr. Ramon San Pascual, co-chair of the 6th EOH Forum, Dr. Cristal Emil M. Estrada, DEOH chair, Dr. TJ Robinson P. Moncatar, assistant to the Dean for Planning and Development, and Dr. Fernando B. Garcia Jr., Dean and Center Director. Thank you again to our excellent speaker for our concluding lecture. I would like to return the command of the virtual floor to our Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Reyes. This has been your moderator, Dr. P.M. Hernandez. Good morning.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. We will again like to express our sincerest gratitude to all our speakers today, Dr. Nasir Hassan, Deputy Director Maria Julieta Benedicto, and Dr. Renzo Ginto. We value your feedback, so please accomplish the evaluation form. The link will be shared by our staff. And for the audience to receive their certificates of attendance, please ensure that you accomplish the evaluation forms for days 1 and 2. The link for day 2 evaluation will be shared by our staff, and this will also be emailed to the registrants immediately after the event. You are allowed to accomplish the forms until 3 p.m. today. At this point, we would like to invite all the participants, speakers, and the organizing team to turn on their cameras for a photo opportunity. There will be 15 panels, so please stay on camera and wait for the cue of our screen manager. Thank you.
Okay po, please smile po. Meron po tayong tatlong panels po dito. So, by the count of 3, I'll be taking your pictures. For the first panel, 3, 2, 1. For the second panel po, 3, 2, 1. And for the last panel po, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Hi po.
Thank you po. To officially conclude our two-day forum, I would like to invite the overall chair of this event, Dr. Victorio Molina, for his closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, thank you so much, and good day to all of us. As we come to the end of the two-day EOH forum, no, with the theme accelerating the development of healthy and climate-smart hospitals in the Southeast Asian region, we were all reminded, no, that we were all reminded, no, that the health sector, especially the hospitals, can significantly contribute to the alleviation of environmental health problems in the context of climate change. Our speakers highlighted the urgency of environmental protection and climate change. Dr. Renzo, for example, mentioned this morning in his presentation that 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries have already been breached or exceeded, which means that efforts not to protect our environment is really, really urgent now, and delays in mitigation will have significant health consequences or even irreversible damages. In the past 2 days, we heard an urgent call to the health sector, specifically, to initiate and lead the way in mitigating the effects of climate change, by limiting its own footprint. We were also reminded that now, more than ever, hospitals need to adapt to the impacts of climate change and must promote healthier facilities through the implementation of green and sustainable initiatives. Our EOH forum has provided a discussion table for all of us, our speakers and participants, to talk about strategies, challenges, and opportunities in accelerating the transformation of healthy and climate-smart hospitals in the Philippines and in the region. We fully believe now that the knowledge and insights that we have gained in the last 2 days will help us transform the healthcare institutions to reduce its environmental footprint and to serve as anchor for sustainability and a leader in the movement for environmental health and justice towards healthier hospitals and communities. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank our speakers from the Philippine Department of Health, from the World Health Organization, Climate Change Commission, from Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia, and from their key partner hospitals in Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, from the Philippine General Hospital, no? And from the Planetary and Global Health Program of the St. Luke's Medical Centers. To all our speakers, thank you so much, no, for sharing your expertise, your insights and wisdom, no, as well as the best practices, no, in your respective countries. Special thanks to our moderators and master of ceremonies, no, for the past 2 days, and to the administrative and technical staff who were working very hard behind the scenes. Sa inyo pong lahat, maraming salamat. We would like to thank in a very special way Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia through Executive Director Ramon Sampascual, now for co-organizing this year's event. Thank you so much, Sir Mon, no, and the rest of your team for all the support and the inputs during the planning stage, and for the hard work in all stages of the preparatory work. Very special thanks to the overall Vice Chair of the organizing committee, Professor Marian Lumboy Capino, for her excellent work and dedication. Prof. Tet, maraming salamat sa iyo. No? To our department chair, Dr. Crystal Estrada, and all the faculty and staff of the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, College of Public Health, University of the Philippines, Manila, maraming salamat po. No? Special thanks to the UP Manila Chancellor, Dr. Michael T., and CPH Dean Dr. Fernando Garcia Jr., together with this EXICOM, no, for their unwavering support, no, to the EOH initiatives of the department. Above all, I would like to thank God for his help and guidance, and for giving us this opportunity to serve through this forum. To all our participants, thank you so much for joining the 6th EOH Forum. Let us continue working together towards healthier hospital and healthy communities. We look forward to see you all again next year for our 7th EOH Forum in November 2024. Maraming salamat po, and God bless us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Molina, for that. And now let us hear from the co-chair of this event, Mr. Ramon San Pascual. You're on mute, Sir Mon. You're still on mute po, Sir Mon.
I am not allowed. Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry,
Yes.
a while ago I was not allowed to unmute myself. But to my co-chair, Professor Victorio Molina, Sir Vic, maraming pong salamat for this opportunity of being your co-organizers and even co-host for the 6th EOH Forum. Such a huge both opportunity, at the same time it's so humbling that we are considered as a key partner in the successful 2-day event as Healthcare Without Harm. And I like to reiterate all the gratitude and the thank yous that you mentioned to all those who make these 2 days, very important 2 days possible and successful, including all those who inputted, who lectured, the 400 plus participants that came and stayed throughout the 2 days. We wanted really to make this an excellent lecture series for you, our healthcare professionals, healthcare students, as well as advocates and allies. You're a big part of making this successful. Now, outside of the many thank yous, I just want to reiterate three key points that has been mentioned throughout. And I heard our first speaker yesterday from the Department of Health, Dr. Beverly Ho, when she described from the notion of how the DOH now view hospital as both a place for healing, as a workplace, and as part of the environment. And in a way, this is supported fully by the last speaker, lecturer that we have, our good friend Renzo, when he mentioned about the newly released Hospital of the Future. A both a visionary and yet at the same time something that is already being taken care of, being done by many new hospitals and innovations, renovations being done in existing hospitals. Why is this important? Because finally we are going beyond our standard and typical notion of what a hospital is. That's why what makes hospital scary to people is that these are where diseases are found and where patients are being treated. But we're now seeing the value of hospital beyond just a place for healing, but rather it is an instrument, it is part of the entire ecosystem in the society to provide healing both for the people and for the planet. And that therefore the workers, both the doctors, the nurses, the engineers, the non-medical staff of a typical hospital should also exemplify and pronounce that kind of a healthy outlook. Because what we are now promoting is not merely just an effective, efficient hospital, but healthy in a profound way. Healthy to mean you don't emit so much carbon emission. In fact, you're adopting new renewables. Healthy in a way that you don't throw away single use as much as you can, but healthy in a way in terms of both the practice and the outlook of people and the operations that run the hospital. This is a huge change, and if it remains a vision now, but you will see because of the imperative and the severity of the climate crisis, hospital is now becoming a frontliner in addressing the climate crisis. And seeing the climate crisis as a health crisis is very crucial on this. And the forum for 2 days illuminate that point, but I think it provides some kind of a guidance. How do we move forward? I would wonder what will be the discussion next year's EOH forum, but I look forward to it. But certainly there should be some follow through, there should be some update, because finally the healers that we are, that do no harm, for which all of us took our oath, is now more comprehensive than just healing diseases and healing people. And so to me, that's the whole relevance of the 2 days that we just had. I take this to heart. By the way, today is my birthday, but I don't mind working with you colleagues. But this is really a meaningful 2 days with you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Department of Environment on Occupational Health. And see you everyone again next year.
Happy birthday, Sir Mon. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Dr. Molina and Mr. San Pascual. Happy birthday again po. This has been your day 2 of Master Ceremonies, Dr. Michelle Reyes. And if you want to know more about healthcare without harm, please go to our social media for example, the carbon emissions calculation, reference materials, and some of our events that are related to this. Please stay happy and healthy and safe. And let me turn over the floor to Dr. Crystal Amiel Estrada for some announcements. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Michelle, and thank you very much to Dr. Vic and Sir Mon for your closing messages for our sixth Environmental and Occupational Health Forum. And also, let us all wish Sir Mon a happy birthday. Ayan. Let's greet Sir Mon. Let's use the emoji for greeting Sir Mon. A very happy birthday. Thank you very much for spending your birthday with us this year, sir. Okay, ayan. So, thank you again to everyone, to our participants for staying with us for the 2 days of our Environmental and Occupational Health Forum this year. And we look forward to seeing you again next year for the 7th Environmental and Occupational Health Forum, which will be held on November 21 and 22. Please save the date. And we hope to see you again next year for our 7th installment of our annual Environmental and Occupational Health Forum. We would also like to use this opportunity to take this opportunity to extend our invitation to everyone to the 90th postgraduate course in occupational health and safety, which will be held on February 19 to 24, 26 to 29, and March 1, 2024. So this is the first postgraduate course offering of the department for 2024, but we will also be releasing the save the date poster for the remaining offerings for the year. So we have 4 offerings of the postgraduate course for 2024. And if you're also interested to pursue our academic programs in the College of Public Health, we are offering several master's degree programs, and we also have a Doctor of Public Health program at the College of Public Health. Please check out the official website of UPCPH and also our official Facebook page for more information and announcements on the application process. So with that, thank you very much again for joining us in this year's EOH Forum, and see you again next year, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
You